Welcome in, everyone. We are still allowing a couple minutes here for catch-up of the technical difficulties there at the start, so we will get started here in just a moment. All right, so I think that's probably enough time to let everyone flow into this meeting. Apologies, guys, for the technical issues there at the start. Isn't that always the way? Something always has to happen. Murphy's Law, I believe they call it. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to learn about Chrome Enterprise and how your business can benefit from investing in cloud-based products such as Chrome. My name is Rob Moore, and I am the Director of Customer Support for Sweetbriar. Today, we will be joined by a technical specialist from Google's Chrome OS team, Fausto Tavarez. Fausto has been kind enough to help educate our customers today on the benefits and features of Chrome Enterprise. While this session is intended to be informational, Sweetbriar has partnered with Google to develop a demo, trial, and analysis options for those interested in taking a hands-on approach. First, just a bit about who Sweetbriar is. So Sweetbriar is a Google Premier Partner with 9 years experience helping our clients best utilize their G Suite investment. Whether it be Google Sites, Google Cloud Search, the Google Cloud Platform, or moving users to Chrome OS Enterprise, as we're going to discuss today, there are always new ways to benefit from being a cloud worker. As your Google partner, we are always here to help you assess and evaluate how effectively your company is utilizing the G Suite tools, both available to you now and looking to the future. We have experience in multiple verticals, moving our clients out of a variety of platforms and into the cloud via G Suite. We help our clients create GCP projects of all sorts. We migrate data from legacy servers into the cloud for accessibility anywhere. We help clients better utilize Meet with Chrome hardware for meetings. And we help you to establish better manageability over your workforce with the managed Chrome browser. Near the conclusion of today's webinar, we will take a quick look at one of our many cloud success stories as an example of a client maximizing their investment. Right now, though, I'm going to hand the reins over to Chrome OS technical specialist, Fausto Tavarez.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you everyone for joining. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak today about this solution. Before we even get started, I just want to say, again, I'm sorry about the technical issues that we had at the beginning. Hopefully, it's going to be smooth sailing from now on. So first things first, I'm pretty sure some of you have already heard this phrase, the cloud worker. It's a phrase that we kind of take to heart. Everything we do here at Google, from our browser to our enterprise solutions, everything works around the cloud. And the cloud worker has been this kind of mythical phrase that a lot of people kind of wonder, what is it exactly? So chances are that the person next to you is already a cloud worker. The cloud worker is essentially somebody that tends to work from multiple devices that uses applications that are storing the information in the cloud. This person may have multiple applications throughout the day, but may also take those applications on the road and work either from home or from a remote office somewhere along those lines. Um, in most organizations, you will find some of these individuals are using up to 22 applications that are in the cloud, and this is especially true in larger enterprises. So today we're going to be discussing how Chrome OS and G Suite allow you as an IT admin to benefit those workers. So as we said before, a lot of that workforce, it's already in the cloud and they may not even know it. So we find that 80% of the global workforce is already deskless, which means that these may be individuals that are working to meet the customers when they come into your business. They may be doing essential work on the back end. And at the end of the day, we find that in many cases, these are a lot of the folks doing a lot of the heavy lifting. They are either the face of the company or the backbone of the company. So what we try to do is present an enterprise solution that is going to be sort of a transformative experience for you guys. We like to think of us as not selling just a particular product, but selling an entire solution. So this solution that we're going to be discussing today, it's not going to be all that great if we don't really look back at how we're actually handling your enterprise today. So this slide here, it's kind of one of my favorites. I did IT for 20 years prior to joining Google, and I went through this on an everyday basis. You normally have your antivirus definitions that you have to update. Uh, Software packages need to be updated separately. In some organizations, you even need a desktop engineering team that actually packages the software ahead of time. There's a huge amount of work that goes into patching the operating system itself. You have Patch Tuesday with Microsoft and things like that. Same thing happens on the hardware. In some cases, you have to update the hardware in order to actually continue to use the OS, because normally Windows machines actually slow down over time. And then there's the big one, which is data backup. Unfortunately, it's one of those things that takes a lot of time, that people say they do, but sometimes they don't do it right. So sometimes whenever there's a disaster recovery situation, we find that some organizations are not really that well prepared to handle that. So it is kind of a vicious cycle that goes on, and then you have to buy additional applications in order to achieve these things. You have to buy a package for antivirus, for encrypting the data. You have to buy a package software to actually update your other software. So how do we address these things? So Chrome OS is an operating system that we've developed over the last 10 years. It's based on Chrome browser, as you know, and what we decided to do was just build an entire OS around it. We built it around four very simple pillars, and we're going to go over those today in a little bit more detail. But those are speed. We make sure that everything you do on the browser is fast and it stays fast over time. Simplicity. We mean simplicity not only for the users on how they go about their day and how they use the applications, but also simplicity in how you manage the OS. We make sure that we give you the tools with the proper licensing to manage a fleet of 100 or 100,000 Chromebooks. So either way, we got you covered. One of the most important pillars, of course, is security. Everything we do at Google, we make sure that we give you the tools to protect proactively and reactively, so you're always covered. And then the last one is shareability. A lot of you might have heard that we are pretty big on the education side, and part of that has to do with the fact that you can take a Chromebook and it could be used by multiple users. and not going to slow down. A lot of the built-in security and the cloud profiles that we have make it extremely good as a shared device. So security, I'm sorry, speed. First things first is whenever you turn on a Chromebook, it's going to turn on in less than 10 seconds from the moment you press the power button until it gets to the login screen. And this is the only OS that actually gets faster. Because we do constant updates, we're constantly updating the optimization of that relationship between the software and the hardware. So with all these updates, a Chromebook that used to start in 10 seconds, over time may end up booting up in 6 or 7 seconds. And this is something that we see on an everyday basis. Um, in terms of speed, the other thing that you'll notice is that Chrome browser is and has been for the last 10 years the fastest browser on the market. We have a rendering engine that is so good that just recently Microsoft decided to ditch Microsoft Edge altogether and use our engine on their backend so that their websites can display and be as compliant as our browser. That, if that doesn't give you any confidence in our technology, I don't know what can. So our main competitor is actually giving us basically the thumbs up. The other thing about improvement is that we're constantly updating not just the time that it takes for the OS to boot quickly, but also a lot of other stuff that are affected. So the optimization on how the core operating system works, the access to the local cache, all that stuff gets constantly improved to make the OS faster than most Windows machines. Simplicity. So when you think about Chrome OS, you have to think about the tools that come along with it. So a lot of these applications are used by billions of people. Like literally, if you think about Gmail, for example, and Calendar, the Chrome browser itself, Android, these are all tools that on a regular basis get used in some cases from 1 to 4 billion people, which is pretty amazing. Now, what that should give you what that should give you an idea of is not only the scale, but also the reliability. Chances are you're not going to have to train your staff after they come on board. The other thing that we do is that the tools that we give you through the admin console, they're very intuitive. If you try to use Active Directory, you kind of have to become an expert at it in order to get the most of it. With our tools, it's web-based, it's everything in a single location, and it makes things very easy to manage when you have a large fleet. Okay. The other thing that comes with it is software distribution right into the admin console, which is great. We're going to talk a little bit more about that down the line. And then the shareability. We mentioned that security is kind of at the core of everything that we do. And so we make sure that user A has a different encryption key than user B, which means that they're not going to be able to see what the other one is doing, even if they get the same machine. If you have an industry that is very tough on security, you can activate something called ephemeral mode, which after you log out, completely wipes that profile so that nothing is left on that machine. It's very, very useful. Because of all the shareability, we see a lot of organizations implement a cart model. Along with that, there's another feature there called grab and go, which basically it deals with the issue of people forgetting their machines at home, whether it's because they left a little early or because it was stolen or you left it at the airport. They come to you as an IT administrator and ask for a machine. Chances are that whenever they get that machine, a bunch of Windows updates are going to get installed. And by the time these people are productive, it's already been an hour or two. With a grab and go program or cart model in general, you're able to get these folks up and running in less than 10 minutes. And then at the end of the day, when they're done, they come back and they return it and everything is cool. You don't have to worry about files being saved on that desktop that were lost or anything like that. Because everything gets saved to the cloud, everything will follow you wherever you go. So when you log back in on a new machine that they give you, you're going to have all your stuff in there. So now let's talk a little bit about security, which is one of my favorite topics. We have unfortunately a problem in the Windows world that is not going away. I actually thought, as a long-time Windows user, I really thought that things were going to get better with Windows 10, and unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. So, since 2017, malware variants have been up by 88%, and nowadays the biggest thing that we see is ransomware. Basically, if you go online and you do a search for ransomware and type the name of a city like Baltimore or somewhere in Florida, you'll see that a lot of articles come up. Those two states were hit pretty hard just recently. And in most cases, what the criminals are asking is either you give us a large amount of money or we are going to keep this data encrypted. Okay, and this has been happening not only to major cities, but this has been happening to major organizations. A lot of companies in Europe just recently got hit by a ransomware that basically crippled several industries. Okay, and we find that 98% of the victims are usually using Windows 90s, Windows 7. 98% of the victims. Imagine that. A lot of this stuff happens through phishing, and phishing is one of those things that you would think that by now people kind of knew how to deal with, but you'd be surprised. Most people get an email that looks legitimate, and they're going to click on it, unfortunately. So you need an operating system that is going to get in the way, basically, an operating system that is going to protect the users even when they're not looking. Okay. Those numbers that I threw at you, I know they can be, they can seem like we're making stuff up. But if you go to the website cvedetails.com, it's an independent site that you can just browse through it whenever you're done. They actually track every vulnerability, any serious vulnerability, and you will notice that if you put the Windows 7 name over the last 10 years, they've got more than 1,200 vulnerabilities. Windows 10 in just 4 years has more than 900, and Chrome OS in 10 years that we've been in business, in 10 years we only have 54. That just to give you an idea of the kind of vulnerabilities that are out there. It doesn't mean we're invulnerable, but the difference is kind of startling. So how do we help? So, as I mentioned before, updates happen every 6 weeks. Every 6 weeks, we come out with updates to features, and whenever there is actually a security problem, we patch it in 2 to 3 weeks. If it's a 0-day vulnerability, we patch it right away, immediately. We don't wait. We have something on every Chromebook called Verify Boot that checks every part of the boot up process to make sure that nothing has been tampered with. And if it was tampered with, it automatically gives you the opportunity to reset it and get rid of any vulnerability that could have been exploited there. Pretty effective tool. Sandboxing. Whenever you go to a website and you go do something, everything is treated as an individual process. Whenever you open another tab, it gets created as a separate one, and the two processes don't talk to each other, which means that if you go to a website that is malicious, what happens on that website is not going to touch the other tabs or any part of the operating system, which is great because think about it. In most cases, whenever you go to a bad website and you click on something bad, the next thing that it does is embed itself in the boot up process so that every time you try to reboot, you have to end up pretty much wiping the computer. That doesn't happen here. The operating system is pretty much read-only. In addition to that, we have something called safe browsing. And safe browsing basically prevents your users from even reaching those malicious sites. See, as part of Google's mission to index all the world's information, we scan the entire internet. So whenever we find a website that is actually distributing malicious software or phishing or anything like that, it gets flagged. So that whenever one of the users tries to go to it, they get a big red page that says this site is malicious. And then as an IT admin, we give you the ability to automatically get them away from that site. So you have full control of that. We also have automatic data encryption. So you don't have to manage these encryption keys. Okay, one of the biggest challenges to encrypting an entire hard drive is that as an IT administrator, you're going to be responsible for that. In some cases, you have to buy a third-party software like Sophos, for example, and then have to deal with these long keys in order to decrypt information. With us, you don't have to deal with that. Every Chromebook that you get will have a chip in it that was designed by Google. It's a trusted platform module chip that allows us to do all of this stuff on the machine itself. It doesn't have to rely on the cloud for any of the encryption stuff. And then, like I mentioned before, the ephemeral mode, which is a great tool for security mandate organizations. Ephemeral mode deletes the locally cached information after you log out every single time. And that can be implemented with a couple of clicks. It's not something that you have to learn or anything like that. You just search for it in our settings and it comes right up. Okay. Now, one of my favorite things, about 2 years ago, we implemented security keys here at Google. And, we have about 100,000 employees. And since the time that we implemented the security keys, we haven't had a single takeover of an account. Two-factor authentication basically allows the users to log in as they normally would. If it's on a new machine, they'll get prompted to enter a security key. You could also do it with text messages. And the great thing about it is that this comes at no extra cost to you. This is already part of your licenses. So as soon as you get the licenses, you get this automatically. The only thing that you have to pay for are the security keys. And with that, we basically support any FIDO key in the market. We make our own, but you're free to buy, whichever one suits your needs. So this is what we call a multi-layer security approach. Basically, we try to deter negligent behavior, but when that fails, we make sure that the attack gets contained within all those layers. And in addition to that, because we're constantly updating the devices, we always try to stay ahead of the bad guys. So in many cases, I'll have some people come up to me and say, hey, I would love to try Chrome, but my antivirus vendor doesn't really support it. Well, the reason is because it doesn't really require an antivirus. So you can actually deploy all your Chromebooks and not have to deal with antivirus ever again. The OS is basically read-only. You have the sandboxing that I mentioned before, the verify boot. And at the end of the day, all the software that gets installed on the device, you can control. So it's not like, if you have all these Android apps that they're going to go in there and install them, or the extensions. You control that. So at the end of the day, you don't need the antivirus. It's just not necessary. A lot of this functionality that I'm talking about, you actually unlock it with our enterprise license. One of the great things about it is that it gives you that seamless integration to all of our other tools. You have everything in a single pane of glass. It gives you the ability to modify more than 200 policies. And you could do that very easily. The clients are going to get the updates automatically, no need for VPN. So you could actually make changes here, and you could have people half across the world get those updates almost instantly. Okay, as soon as they connect to the internet, the devices will check in to the Google servers, find the new policies, and boom, they get deployed automatically. And the great thing is that you also have additional 24/7 support. So, whenever you run into any issues, you'll be able to go ahead and call us, and we'll be able to assist. Okay, this is enterprise grade support. So, what can you do with that license? So, as I mentioned before, you can control all the things that your users are doing in the user settings, network settings. So, whenever you open a Chromebook, you can tell the device, I only want you to connect to this network. I only want you to access the internet through this proxy setting. And guess what? You don't even have to tell your users what the Wi-Fi password is. All of that stuff can be done automatically in the background. So no need to change those passwords ever again. You can change settings just for the device rather than the user. And then you have something called Manage Guest Session, which is fantastic because it allows you to create these locations where multiple users can log in. So if you have users that don't actually have accounts, maybe like shop workers or people that don't have email, for example, but they still need to log into the HR system and print out a pay stub, for example, you can actually create a location where they can log in and do all these kinds of work. And then the last thing that you could do is create a kiosk setting where you have an application that it's the only application that starts up automatically. This is really good for signage. It's good for single apps. So let's say that you have a hotel and you need the customers to come in and check in. You can create a kiosk that allows you to do that. And it actually doesn't stop there. You may be thinking, okay, that's all good and all, but I have all these Windows apps. So what do I do with them? If you already have all those applications and you're running them in a virtual environment, with us, you can actually access those things. If you have Citrix, VMware, Amazon Workspaces, even if you have the vanilla type VMware, you can actually get a client that will be able to connect to those locations and be able to access everything automatically. It's fantastic. It's a very quick thing. You can set it up even as a kiosk where the only thing that starts is the VDI client. So if you have a VDI with Citrix, you can say, okay, as soon as this particular device starts, it's going to start automatically to that. And then my users can access all their stuff. So at the end of the day, you end up having all the security of Chrome, but you still can use all of your apps. And we also support app streaming. So if any of these, and I know, for example, that Citrix and VMware do this, if they can stream individual apps, that is also supported. So I'm sure you must be thinking about the devices, and I know that Chromebooks have had a reputation in the past about being, these cheap devices that you could get for, $250, and that's to an extent that's true. We still have those devices because we have a lot of school districts all over the world that are using them, but we have now all of the OEMs supporting us, and they have been building extremely good machines. Touchscreen with glass, high-end materials. You now have aluminum. You have 10-point multi-touch screens. These are all available now, and some of these settings are, very much high-end, and you can go as high as you want. So all these enterprise devices have at least 8 gigs, but they could go up to 32 gigs of RAM if you want. They always have at least 8 hours of battery, so you can get a full day of work. But of course, some of these devices that are high end, they will give you even more battery. Like I mentioned before, everything is premium build, and on device storage is really good. And the best part about it is that all of these can come with the latest Intel processors. We also have AMD and even MediaTek. So you have a big range of places to choose from and a huge range of devices. So you could spend as little as $300 or $400, or you could go all the way up to $2,000 if that's what you want. Let's say that you have an executive in the office that you want to really impress. This is your way to do it. So these are some of the licensing that you're going to need. So with this, you'll be able to discuss it further down the line with our friends at Sweetbriar. But these are the costs. Basically, if you're a nonprofit, it's $30 per machine per year. If you're a business, it's $50 per machine. And then if you want, you could also get a perpetual license, which means it's going to last you for the duration of the device, and that's $150. My recommendation is always to get the $50 one, the annual license, because that's kind of the sweet spot. It gives you a lot of flexibility to do. Now let's talk a little bit about G Suite. I know some of you may already be a G Suite customer. So this is what really makes the solution spin its wheels. We have an entire ecosystem of applications that work with G Suite, online or offline, including some of our competitors. We have a lot of integration out there. So if you are already using G Suite, you're probably familiar with this. Basically, you can collaborate way easier than with any other solution. You can have as many as 30, 40, 50 people working on a single document. and it's really fantastic. You no longer have to deal with the dreaded call of, hey, we're trying to access such and such spreadsheet, but Bob already left for the day and left it logged, so now we can modify it. Can you kick him off or turn off the machine? You no longer have to do that. With this, everybody works on the documents at the same time and collaborate in real time. If you have Excel and you have spreadsheets that you want to collaborate on the same way, we're actually able to do it. And it works pretty much the same way. You go in, you open them up from your drive, and you're able to do some of the same functions. You are able to assign comments. You're able to work on the same areas, same cells, all pretty transparent to you. You don't have to do anything to set this up. It's all set up in the background. Okay. We have more than 5 million G Suite users now, so it's not like you'll be trying something new. If this is your first time listening, this is something that a lot of big time labels that are not even listed here. For example, Netflix, Twitter, Facebook, they all use G Suite. So we have a lot of big companies using it on an everyday basis. So these are the SKUs. The basic gives you 30 gigs of storage, but to really get the most out of it, I usually recommend the enterprise because it's what gives you it gives you the best tools, especially if you're a regulated industry and you're gonna need a lot of DLP or data loss prevention. This is your sweet spot right here. You're going to be able to store files, emails, chats, everything for forever if that's what you want, and you'll be able to retrieve those things very easily with a very intuitive interface. We also give you additional Hangouts Meet participants, which is fantastic if you're interested in that. You also get really good integration on the Gmail with BigQuery, which allows you to perform analysis at a big scale if you're a big organization. So, as I mentioned, if you are a regulated industry, pharmaceutical, medical, you name it, even the financial industry, um, this tool allows you to search through all of your history organization-wide, and you're able to comply with e-discovery very, very quickly. As part of your licenses, you also get an MDM, which is a mobile device management, that allows you to handle all of your iOS and Android devices in one spot. So you can push out policies for cell phone passwords, applications, all that fun stuff without a third-party tool. You can do it from a single pane of glass. Now, you may be thinking, okay, so I already have Active Directory. What do I do with that? Quite frankly, we let you pick what you want to do with it. If you want to keep it, then that's great. We work with Active Directory. You'll be able to log into a Chromebook using your AD credentials, which is fantastic. You'll be able to join it to that domain, and you'll be able to manage it through Active Directory if that's the tool that you have in place. Or you can completely migrate to Cloud Identity, which is our internal solution for creating accounts. So it's really up to you. Now, whenever you think about all these things put together and the stuff that you're going to eliminate, like antivirus, when you're going to be eliminating, encryption software, you're going to be getting new devices that are a little bit more effective, that can last you longer. We're looking at about $482 per device in savings per year, which is amazing. Yeah, I know it sounds amazing, but you can actually test it out for yourself. We have a total cost of ownership calculator that you can go here and plug in your own numbers, and you'll be able to see what it's going to save you as an organization. So don't take my word for it. Just go here, and you'll be able to get your own numbers. Now we're going to switch gears really quickly and talk about the Hangouts Meet hardware, which is a tool that we have. Basically, it allows you as an organization to have that full integration with G Suite in the conference room. So anytime you want to have a meeting kind of quickly, all you do is you add that room, and you're able to go in there and click on this touch screen, and you'll be able to join that meeting very, very quickly. You no longer have to put a PIN or a phone number, anything like that. Then you have a camera that follows you around the room. It uses AI to figure out who's talking. It will block the noise levels. If you have echo, it will automatically clean it out. We have a speaker mic that was designed by Google. Basically, you can actually daisy chain as many of these as you need. Actually, I believe up to 5. So if you have a very big conference room, you can just daisy chain this, and you'll be able to, talk from anywhere in the room. And everything is controlled with a custom version of Chrome OS that is installed in an ASUS Chromebox. But of course, we understand that some people have different needs. So this is just one of the kits that we have available. You can actually buy a smaller one if you have smaller conference room, or a bigger one from Logitech if you have, even bigger needs. So depending on your needs, you'll be able to find one that will match, whatever it is that you need. The great thing about this is that the level of integration with calendar is superb. And then you can go in, and the touchscreen makes it super easy to use. We find that whenever something is this easy to use, people tend to use it more. They tend to want to, get on screen and see each other, especially if you're working with remote offices. So we highly recommend that you get a trial. Along with that, we have another tool called the Jamboard, which seamlessly integrates into Hangouts Meet hardware, so that you could do whiteboard integration. Anything that you write on this electronic digital board, it will be displayed to all the users, which is fantastic. People in other offices that don't have Jamboard will be able to make changes on a mobile app, and those changes will show up on the screen that you see here, which is really, really awesome. So as I mentioned before, the cost of the hardware is going to depend on which kit you actually use. And then there's just an annual fee of $250 per room, so that you can actually manage it. Okay. Let's talk really quickly about SoftWatch. I think that some of you may be thinking, how do I know if I'm ready? So this company, SoftWatch, has a tool called the Chromebook Adoption Readiness. It's a tool that basically runs within your company and will figure out which applications are being used, and then it will give you an assessment about how ready you are to move to the cloud. If you email customer success at sweetbriar.com, you'll be able to set something up. Sure, Rob is going to be able to assist you with that. It's a 3-month subscription that is free. We actually, we partner with SoftWatch, and we're picking up the tab. So feel free to email that location, and it's going to be completely free to you. So now that we're done with that part, let's talk a little bit about the motorcycle company. So Rob is going to tell us a little bit more about that.
Thanks, Fausto, for sharing your expertise on this subject with all of us. Now we're going to shift our focus into the motorcycle company, one of Sweetbriar's clients that is really maximizing their cloud footprint. You can find this complete success story and many like it at our website, sweetbriar.com. The motorcycle company is the largest Harley-Davidson company in the world, managing 10 locations in the United States. The motorcycle company had been growing very quickly, and as a result, they had data stored all over the place, from personal drives to Dropbox, Google Drive to local servers. They needed a solution that would provide access from anywhere. They needed the ability to share files with ease and to collaborate with one another from multiple locations. They needed to gain control of document redundancy that had taken hold, and they needed to enhance their email and data security and close off vulnerabilities from having so many data storage locations. And they needed all of this to be at an admin-friendly control center. Google, G Suite, and Chrome Enterprise were the solution they were looking for on all of these fronts. Today, everything lives in the cloud, and their lives are much simpler because of that. Their company is now saving over $25,000 a year on IT costs and is utilizing Chrome Enterprise for their in-store advertising. As next steps, they are looking to replace all of their PCs with Chromebooks to further reduce their hardware and overall IT costs. We hope that this story inspires you to dig deep into your operations as they exist today and to seek out opportunities to move further into the cloud as the motorcycle company has. Please take some time to process everything you have learned and heard about today, and then let the Sweetbriar team know, how can we help you to maximize your investment into the cloud? If you are interested in taking part in our free Meet Hardware trial program, please email us at customersuccess@sweetbriar.com. Please do not hesitate to sign up, as we anticipate high interest in this program, and trial kits are going to be limited and on a first-come, first-served basis. You can also contact us here if you're interested in joining the SoftWatch program to evaluate your readiness. I thank you again for your time today. I would also like to thank Fausto again for his tremendous contribution and effort, and I look forward to helping each of you expand your footprint in the cloud.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a great afternoon.